Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of Adventures in Osaka. Starting with a recap of the past week, I am really starting to get adjusted to life here in Japan. I've got my residence and insurance cards, I'm starting to get my bills and know how to pay those. So I'm really starting to get into the flow of things, and I'm pretty in control of myself, so I'm really pretty proud. And one of the things is my power bill is actually going to be remarkably easy to pay, apparently, because when I got my power bill, which covers the time I've spent in Japan so far, the past half a month, it was only like 670 yen-ish, which is like $7. Everyone else's was like 3 times that. So apparently I'm doing pretty good. Probably one of the things is not really turning the air conditioning, the heater behind me, on very much. Instead, I usually just kind of stay in my futon or like I'm doing now, just still wearing my coat and scarf after coming back from today's adventures. So apparently that is a pretty good strategy because that thing is a massive energy drainer, like more than the lights. So I'm being more of an adult than I was back home, not gonna lie. So another thing that happened, we as a group of international students, we decided to go eat sushi, which was a little bit of a walk away. A pretty decent sized walk, but we had plenty of time before our next class. So we went to one of those sushi places where the sushi actually comes to you on a conveyor belt after you order it on the menu screen. But we got a little confused. We didn't realize at first that each table has its own kind of like color-coded system that determines what dish coming to you is going to be yours. And there's a sound that plays when your dishes are going to arrive. So we got kind of confused, but we've got it figured out now. So next time we go there, we will be 100% ready to go. It's actually really cheap to have sushi in Japan. Like the whole meal cost me like $7, probably less. So it was pretty good, actually. Kind of moving on into the rest of the week, meaning yesterday and today. Yesterday was actually the birthday of a classmate slash friend of mine in my Japanese class. And so we kind of had a surprise for him, and he had no idea that we were also planning kind of a birthday party for him after lunch. So 2 of the buddy students had gone out to get a present and a cake for him, and the rest of us ate lunch together, and he was like, wait, aren't they going to eat with us? And we were like, oh no, they have something else to do. Yes, they did. And so then we kind of, when we went back to the school, we're just like, you should come downstairs and study with us. And he was kind of confused, but we eventually convinced him to come down, and then the buddy students brought out the cake, and he went, oh no, it's my birthday party. And it was so adorable. He has the most adorable smile I have ever seen. So it was great to see him as happy as he was. He was so touched because he actually hadn't really celebrated his birthday before this because that's just not something he does back home. So it was pretty touching that he was as touched as he was. Um, so then moving on, still yesterday, but actually today is Setsubun. February 3rd is the Setsubun holiday where you're supposed to be chasing out the bad luck of the past year. And so it was hosted by the buddy students at our school, the buddy students, the Japanese students that are paired with all of the international students to make us comfortable. So it was an event that they put on, and the first half was making makizushi, which are sushi rolls that normally are, like rice rolled with seaweed with some stuff in the middle that you cut into slices. But the tradition with Setsubun is to just eat them whole. So you eat it like a burrito. And you're supposed to face south-southwest when you're eating them. And you're not supposed to talk, which nobody told me initially. So I had already started talking. And people went, shh. And I went, what? And so I had to start over again because that's supposed to give you the best luck for the next year. And then the second part was the best part. The best part, I am telling you. The biggest thing of Setsubun is the chasing out of the bad luck. So there's a demon who represents all the bad things, an oni, usually a person dressed up or wearing a mask. He represents the bad luck, and you want to get rid of him, so you throw beans at him. And so you say, Oni wa soto, fuku wa uchi. So you're saying, the demon goes out and the good luck comes in. And while you say that, you throw the beans at the demon because you're chasing it away. And let me tell you, it is the most satisfying way to send off an old year, especially if it was terrible. So I strongly recommend Setsubun for anyone who has had a really bad year. And it was especially fun because one of the students, being the Oni, was one of the other international students, so it was fun to just chuck beans at him. Not because I dislike him, actually. I find him very entertaining. He's just a ham, so it was kind of fun to throw beans at him. So, yeah, Setsubun was really fun. I'm really glad that the buddy students did that for us. I think they put in a lot of work to make sure that us international students are enjoying ourselves and are settling in to our time in Japan in general and at the school. And so I'm very, very happy that they do so much work for us. So moving on into today, we went to Suita, which is still in Osaka, not like when we went to Nara. It's actually one of the most famous parts of Osaka. That's where the Tempozan Ferris wheel is. But we were there for the Yuki Matsuri, the snow festival. Now, the snow festival in Osaka is not this thing you might have seen pictures of with the giant snow sculptures. That is actually in Sapporo, which is the northernmost part, or the capital of the northernmost part of Japan, Hokkaido, which gets a lot of snow. Compared to that snow festival, the one in Osaka is kind of underwhelming and filled with little kids. But it was still fun to see the giant, like, snowblower machine just psh. And the park that the festival is held in is enormous. And so we made a walk around and we tried to visit a lot of the things in it. It's probably going to be a lot nicer to visit in spring when the cherry blossoms and the plum blossoms are blooming, or at least, have leaves on them. But it was still pretty. It was a very scenic park, and it would be nice to come back to it. And then we went shopping. We decided to not go on the Tempozan Ferris wheel and the aquarium, despite the fact that they're connected to the shopping center that we were in, because we'd already spent a decent amount of money that day just on food and getting to and from Suita. So we decided we'd spent enough money that day. We might come back another time and try the Ferris wheel and the aquarium, because they're like $30 together. So that was kind of the end of today's adventures. We came back, and I am now here filming this video. And so moving on into the second part of the video, where I talk about some of the things I've noticed. Number one is Osaka Ben. And I've noticed a few ways to recognize when somebody is speaking with an Osaka accent. Number one, using hen instead of nai. Now, nai is one way you can make words negative in the Japanese language. Like when you say I eat, you say taberu, so, or tabemasu. And then when you say I don't eat, tabenai or tabemasen. So in Osaka accent, instead of saying tabenai, they say tabehen. Or usually the thing you hear most often is wakaru, meaning I know. So when someone says I don't know, in Tokyo accent, they would say wakaranai. but in Osaka accent they say wakarahen. And another thing is in standard Japanese, when you say something is really something or is honestly the truth, like you say hontoni. In Osaka instead, you say honmoni instead of hontoni. So that's another way to recognize the accent. And another is instead of saying nani, what, nani, in Tokyo dialect. In Osaka, you say nanya, which is more fun to say to me. So they're pretty easy ways to recognize the Osaka accent. And kind of a more general but harder to point out way is Osaka Ben has more rounded vowels. Like when you say desu ga, in Tokyo accent, it's a lot more crisp, the ah sound, desu ga. But when you say it in Osaka Ben, you hear it more often as well, desu ga. So there's kind of a W hinted at the end there. So that's kind of fun for me. And fruit and meat is hella expensive here in Japan. Like, things that I could get for like 89 cents per apple in America, I would pay like $3 for here. So it's super expensive. But snacks you can get like anywhere. And I really like the 100 yen stores. I mean, I know that means that the products aren't quite as good, but you actually get decent quality products for like 100 yen, which is like less than $1. Just pretty easily, and you can pretty easily survive off of stuff you can get from a 100 yen shop, and it's actually not as horrible for you as you might think, because there's less preservatives in it than you would get at the standard corner store back home. Apparently, a universal trait of living anywhere that has any famous landmark is never going to see it despite living there for 3 years or 5 years or 10 years or your entire life is, I've lived there, but I never actually went there. like my mom, who lived in Oahu for a good chunk of her life, never went and saw Pearl Harbor. It was always that kind of like, oh, I'll go next time, and then never going. Or living in Osaka, some of the students went, I've lived in Osaka for the past 3 years, and I've never been to Osaka Tower. Ever. It's a super famous landmark, never been there. Don't know. And in the case of today, when we went to Suita, the buddy student that was with us, we were trying to figure out where to go, and she went, I've never been here before. This is my first time here. So lived in Osaka her entire life. Has no idea. She has never been to the temples on Ferris wheel. So apparently that is a standard trait of anywhere you go. Some other things I've noticed: iPhones are standard in Japan. Everyone has an iPhone. Like, nobody has an Android. High schoolers are everywhere. I have mentioned that in a Facebook post, and they are really good at Pokemon Go. Like, I am getting destroyed here. Like, I'm on like level 27, which is like kind of normal back home. They're on like level like 37. Also, it's really easy to catch Pokemon here, like in a wide variety. I don't know how I never did that back home. And yeah, that is the video for this week. I will call it a day, edit this tomorrow, post it, and see you all next week.